So I finally got around to playing Resident Evil 8, and I have a lot of thoughts on it. As always, if you enjoy watching me yap about games, then you should definitely subscribe to the channel, and if you want to see more from me, I have a second channel. I will link it down below in the description. I'm gonna start out with my positives before getting into the things I was a little bit mixed or negative on. Getting into the visuals, I think this is easily the best Resident Evil game graphically. It really showcases the best of the RE engine, and I think the environments are genuinely breathtaking. Like, at times, this game just straight up looks like a movie. Getting into the atmosphere and environments a little bit more, I think this game does a great job of creating that haunting, dreadful feeling that you would get from Resident Evil 7. I also thought the game did a very good job of taking advantage of its new setting in Europe, and it reminded me a lot of Resident Evil 4 a lot of the times, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Getting into the story, I really like seeing what the Winters family has been up to after the events of Resident Evil 7, and my god, the voice acting in this game is so good, man. I also thought it was interesting to see that they were under the protection of the BSAA and Chris Redfield. Also, there is so much lore jam-packed into this game that I still haven't even begun to figure out every little juicy detail that was going on within the village. Another thing I really enjoyed about the story is how tragic it is, and seeing the journey that Ethan Winters goes on makes me like him so much more as a protagonist. But the best part of the story, in my opinion, is the villains. They are just comically evil, and I love how they play this cat and mouse game with Ethan throughout the duration of the game. They were all super memorable, and I think they're easily the highlight of this game. Getting into the gameplay though, it's your typical Resident Evil game. There's tons of that classic resource management which we love to see. There's also a bigger emphasis on crafting this time around, at least slightly more than the 7th game, and I think it really works. I also just really loved exploring environments like Dimitrescu's castle, and I feel like this game gave me a lot of Resident Evil 4 vibes. I feel like the developers really took a lot of inspiration from that game, which I don't really have a problem with because that game is peak. You do have your typical Resident Evil puzzles, which most of them I was able to solve on my own, but there were a few times where I was just super dumb and I needed to look up a guide. One thing that helped me a lot throughout my playthrough was the map. I think it's really helpful. It tells you what areas you've already searched and which ones you still need to search to find more items in, and I think it really does help, especially when you get lost. Also, titling the game Village was really clever because you are going to be coming back to the main village a lot in this game. It kind of acts as your hub world. It leads to all of the different areas you're going to be exploring throughout the game, and there are tons of hidden items and puzzles to solve within it. I personally really enjoyed the way they used the actual village in the game, and I think it makes this game a lot more unique compared to a lot of other Resident Evil titles. Speaking of that uniqueness, I think what sets this game apart from every other Resident Evil is the fact that we're not just dealing with your standard zombies or bioweapons this time. We have vampires, werewolves, you have all these different crazy monsters that you come across, and I actually really liked this. It doesn't feel out of place, and the way they explain it near the end made sense to me. My favorite thing with this game actually was the guns. I really love the variety of weapons in this game, and I absolutely love how the gunplay feels, especially with the haptic feedback of the PS5 controller. There are so many different kinds of weapons in this game, and I feel like a majority of them cater to everybody's different playstyles. Alright, now I'm gonna get into the things I was a little bit mixed or negative on. Okay, first we need to address the big vampire mommy in the room. For a character that is all over the marketing for this game, she is barely in it. She shows up at the beginning, you get a couple chases with her, then you fight her boss fight, and then she's gone. Like, this isn't even the only character in the game that I felt this way about. There are a lot of different characters or moments or sections that I felt really needed more fleshing out. Another thing I wasn't the biggest fan of when it came to this game was the pacing. I feel like it drags a lot, especially near the end, and it could have benefited by being a lot shorter than it was. I'm also not a fan of Mother Miranda being a bioweapon and everything in the village happening again because of another bioweapon incident all of the mystery behind where these werewolves came from and why there's vampires everywhere being as simple as, oh, it's another virus, really just pissed me off. I know that this is a trend for Resident Evil to have a bioweapon be the cause of everything, but I would have liked if this game did something different. And despite a few moments throughout the game, this one didn't really scare me nearly as much as 7. Overall, I really did enjoy my time with this game. I thought it was a decent follow-up to Resident Evil 7. Although I didn't like it as much as 7 and I still think it's a better game, I still think this is a very good sequel, and I do think it's a very good Resident Evil game. I'd probably put it high A tier, low S tier if I put it on a tier list. But those were just my thoughts on Resident Evil 8. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in whatever my next project ends up being.